Bob Dole is remembered as a Senate leader, presidential candidate, and decorated war hero. But few Americans know he once waged a battle against some of the most powerful corporations in the country. In 1996, he discovered that television networks were about to receive digital airwaves worth $70 billion for free. He called it the greatest corporate theft in history and tried to stop it. Executives pushed back hard, threatening his campaign and pouring millions into silencing him. The networks got their giveaway, and the cost of cable and television would never be the same. This hidden fight was only one chapter in a life marked by hardship, pain, resilience, and politics played at the highest level. Bob Dole was born on July 22, 1923, in Russell, Kansas. His father, Doran, ran a creamery and his mother, Bina, managed the household through the Depression. Life was brutal. By 1930, the family rented out rooms in their small home for $2 a week just to scrape by. The Dust Bowl made everything worse. In 1935, a storm dropped a foot of dust on the town, crops failed and wheat prices collapsed. Young Bob picked up odd jobs delivering newspapers, mowing lawns, mixing sodas at the drugstore for pennies a day. Sometimes meals consisted of nothing but mustard sandwiches. His mother enforced strict discipline. If he cursed, she washed his mouth with soap. If he skipped chores, she fined him 10 cents from his allowance. If he missed church, he scrubbed the basement floor on his knees. Her motto was simple: be a doer, not a steward. The lesson stuck. By high school, Dole had grown tall, athletic, and ambitious. He starred in football, basketball, and track and earned a scholarship offer from the University of Kansas. His path seemed set until war intervened. In 1943, he enlisted, joining the 10th Mountain Division. On April 14, 1945, while leading an assault in Italy, he was cut down by machine gun fire. His right shoulder was destroyed, his spine shattered, his body left paralyzed. He lay on the battlefield for 9 hours before medics dragged him away. Few thought he would survive. He spent 39 months in hospitals, endured 7 operations, and watched his weight drop from 192 pounds to 122. He lived in a body cast, fought infections, and suffered constant pain. He never regained full use of his right arm. Neighbors collected $1,800 in a cigar box to help him recover. In his backyard, he rigged a rope and pulley system to rebuild strength. He carried a pen in his damaged hand to hide his injury. The scars would never leave him, but neither would his resolve. He said later that pain was no excuse to quit. Back in Russell, he turned to law and politics. In 1950, he ran for county attorney, knocking on thousands of doors in a county that had long voted Democrat. He won narrowly, then made headlines by prosecuting a sheriff who had taken bribes from bootleggers. His rise was steady. By 1960, he entered Congress. In 1968, he won a Senate seat. He became known as a fierce partisan, defending Richard Nixon during Watergate and earning the nickname Hatchet Man. Yet he was more complicated than that. He fought Ronald Reagan's attempt to slash food stamps, citing his own childhood of hunger. He championed disability rights and helped push through closed captioning on television, an issue born from his own injury. Dole ran for president 3 times. In 1988, he won the Iowa caucuses but imploded in New Hampshire when, in frustration, he snapped at George H.W. Bush on live television. "Stop lying about my record." The outburst hardened the image of him as angry and hot-tempered. In 1996, he secured the Republican nomination against Bill Clinton. But at 73, he was the oldest man ever to run for the office. Clinton cast himself as a bridge to the future. Dole was painted as the past. His speeches blasting Hollywood for corrupting America's youth rallied conservatives, but alienated moderates. He seemed caught between eras. Then came the fight over digital spectrum. In 1996, Congress prepared to hand broadcasters spectrum rights worth $70 billion. Dole called it corporate welfare and demanded auctions instead. Media companies fought back, threatening coverage and lobbying with millions. Facing pressure, he relented. The giveaway went through, but Dole never forgot. After losing to Clinton, he returned to the issue as a private citizen, exposing how broadcasters had funneled millions to block reform. His push for auctions helped pave the way for later spectrum sales that eventually raised more than $140 billion for the public. After his election loss, Dole surprised the country by reinventing himself. Just 3 days later he appeared on David Letterman's show, poking fun at his defeat. He hosted Saturday Night Live, starred in Visa and Pepsi commercials, and stunned the nation by becoming the face of Viagra. The decision opened a conversation about men's health that had long been taboo. He showed a lighter, self-deprecating side, and people warmed to him in a way they never had during his campaigns. Still, the old seriousness remained. He championed disability rights, spoke openly about prostate cancer, and stayed active in politics. In 2018, at 95, he was wheeled into the Capitol Rotunda to salute the casket of his one-time rival George H.W. Bush. With great effort, he stood and gave a trembling salute. The image spread across the world as a symbol of dignity and endurance from a generation that had endured so much. In February 2021, he announced he had stage 4 lung cancer. Treatment began days later, but he kept showing up. On his 98th birthday, he endorsed Joe Biden, saying that decency mattered more than partisanship. It was a startling break from his party, but consistent with the independent streak that had marked his career. Bob Dole died on December 5, 2021, at age 98. His funeral at the National Cathedral brought together presidents, senators, Democrats, and Republicans. He was buried in Russell, Kansas, the town where it all began. His legacy is layered. He was a soldier who turned wounds into purpose, a campaigner who fought ruthlessly, and a conservative who sometimes defied his party to protect the poor and disabled. He helped shape the Americans with Disabilities Act, pushed for closed captions on television, and fought corporate giveaways that most politicians ignored. The scarred young man who once lay bleeding on a hillside in Italy lived long enough to shape the digital age. He lost the presidency, but he won something greater: the respect of a nation that, in the end, saw him not just as a politician, but as a survivor who never stopped fighting.